break and rules to enforce that tons of things either go unpunished or are overpunished. And it's just silly to me. And they've gotten way too picky in how they regulate the game.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this earlier in the week. If all NFL players did not have to speak to the media at all, like they didn't have to do, post-practice, post-game, locker room, talking to the local beat writers, what percentage would not? And I think probably like 70% wouldn't even say a peep, unless they're forced to.
Would it be horrible for the NFL to require that teams provide, 10 members of their organization, a team, to present to the media?
Yes, yeah, I think that would be fair, because then you get 10 guys, maybe not 100% would want to, but you'd weed out a lot of the cliches, and guys like Richard Sherman would definitely have his platform be at the forefront. And plus, a lot of these guys who the media's talking to, getting quotes from, they're not the most articulate in the world.
Right.
And, they're just going to roll the ball out there and be like, we played a great game, gave 110%, we had a great opponent, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I get that the NFL is popular because fans want to engage with these players, want to know what these guys are talking about.
Right.
But 95% of it is chaff and just dribble.
Right. I mean, people don't want to hear from that cliche guy who, barely finished school somewhere and can hardly cogently put together a sentence. They don't want to really hear from that guy.
See, even Tom Brady and Russell Wilson, they are very eloquent speakers and very boisterous, but they also talk in cliches. They give you absolutely nothing.
Right. Well, and you're walking such a fine line because you can only say the same thing so many times in so many ways. And you don't want to give away any of your team's secrets, because a lot of the questions that are asked, if you answer them honestly without the cliches, you're going to be giving away proprietary information that you don't want the world to know. So you have to walk that line. And I think that there comes a point of diminishing returns. You're going to keep hearing the same thing. I mean, you can want to ask Arian Foster all week long about, what made this game so great. Well, it's always going to be his offensive line. It's always going to be that the defense gave them more time on the field. It's always going to be the same cliches.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Right.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
You just run out of things to say.
Yeah, and I don't know. I do think that Lynch is getting too much attention for the whole I'm just here so I don't get fined thing. It is perhaps that he is very intelligent, articulate by his Skittles commercial and other various things. And did you see him on Conan last night?
Nope.
That thing was very funny. Him and Gronk playing Mortal Kombat against each other.
Oh, that's pretty fantastic. I need to find that video.
Yeah, and I think the media just needs to step up, because honestly, if they just completely ignore him, I think that would actually be for the best.
Can you tell me how silly it is whenever the man, after the second time, he says, I'm just here so I don't get fined, and you continue to ask 20 more questions and get the same answer, and then you're mad about that? Well, then go focus your attention on someone else, someone who wants to talk to you, because there are plenty of players who do want to talk to you, and there are enough that are good in front of the camera that you can still get your story in. And then you still get your story about, Marshawn doesn't talk to the media. We hate him. That's your story. You're giving them more by not talking to them at this point in the NFL world than you are by talking to them.
Although I do think he gives us some great stuff like, I'm just about that action, boss. And
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm thankful. All right. So the thing that I love about the Super Bowl is that it does seem like the football and media convention. All the radio shows, even Tom, Dick, and Harry over on 97.5, Sioux City's finest, or whatever. Yeah. Go down to the Super Bowl site, Radio Row. Every show has great guests because they just go through and do the car wash thing. And were you around in Houston in 2004 when they hosted the Super Bowl for the first time?
Oh, no, I did. I was living in California at the time, so I really didn't, have my hands in that at all, sadly.
But it is pretty exciting that Super Bowl 51 is going to be in Houston, so you'll be all up in that. And Super Bowl 52 going to be back up in the great state of Minnesota. I'm pretty pumped for that.
And that one was, I remember that when that happened, that was a surprise. It's like, whoa, Minnesota in January, February. Okay, that sounds interesting.
Well, they had Super Bowl 26 up here in Minneapolis at the Dome. And the thing is that downtown Minneapolis, it's like a lot of cold cold weather metropolitan areas where everything's connected through skyways and subways.
Uh-huh.
So once the media and fans get here, if they get a place downtown, they basically don't have to go outside until they have to go to the game. So it's not so bad. And by all accounts, they did a pretty phenomenal job last time. And now we're finally getting it back because we built the NFL stadium. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, it usually gets you some attention.
Bird killing stadium.
Poor birds. I can't believe all y'all are ruining those poor birds' flocks.
Now, what are some storylines that you're looking forward to for this Super Bowl?
Gosh, really, the whole repeat thing is kind of a cool story because it's been so long since a team has actually been in that situation. And I'm not the world's biggest Seahawks fan, but at the same time, Russell Wilson quarterbacking a team and getting to the Super Bowl twice so early in his career and having the potential, if he won that Super Bowl again, that would be a pretty fantastic story, I think.
I think he's a good quarterback for what they ask him to do.
Right.
And I think he's a great person, except sometimes, especially his State Farm commercials come off as, too, scrubbed up and too PR and too political. They almost give me diabetes.
Look, man, I find something strange about Russell Wilson. I think I don't know. Something's going on. I don't know what it is, but I feel weird about him. I don't know. But
we complain about the NFL having all these bad guys like Ray Rice and Greg Hardy, but Russell Wilson is the complete opposite of it. So we should be praising him. But there's something about the whole too PR to too political, like the Peyton Manning persona, like I guess JJ Watt in your case.
Yep.
And it just seems, don't want to say disingenuous, but it doesn't seem like they're being a real person, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Almost like
it's
a stock caricature.
They're hiding their worst parts from the public, and that's fine. Most people try to do that, but then you have PR people on top of it, and
Ask me about my football dreams.
I don't know, but my point is that in this quarterback-driven league, quote unquote, in this day and age, for a quarterback like Russell Wilson to come in, I think it's more of a team thing. Mm-hmm. The organization has created a team that can win despite not having, your typical 2010s, 2000s, 21st century quarterback.
Now, I think Russell Wilson is going to, if they do win, and even if they don't win, they're going to have a couple of solid years, even though Wilson's going to be due to get paid this offseason, and it'll be interesting to see how the team dynamics will play out there. But I do feel like he will get a little bit of the Terry Bradshaw treatment where he's a good quarterback, but he's surrounded by so much talent that he won't get the recognition that a Montana or even a Tom Brady gets.
I don't think he'll get that reputation, but I think that as long as he continues to not screw up on the field and not screw up off the field, he will be remembered in the future as a very, a stellar quarterback. Not saying he'll be statistically one of the best, but...
Well, no, it's so weird. If you talk about the greatest quarterback of all time conversation, it starts with Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Johnny Unitas, and then you get about 6 or 7 names down the list before you get to Terry Bradshaw, who won 4 Super Bowls.
Exactly. That's true. Very true. But, you still talk about Terry Bradshaw. People still recognize him as, as a quarterback who was with those teams.
Because he's on the Fox pregame show, and he does that Shingles commercial.
No, but even before that, though, I think Terry Bradshaw was always regarded as, he didn't screw it up for the team. And I think that if you're in a position and you can be a leader on the field and off the field and not screw it up for your team, well, then you're going to get a lot of credit as a quarterback in the NFL.
John Elway, Dan Marino, too. I'm just trying to compile a list, but sorry.
That's okay.
I wasn't listening.
Oh, great.
I'm just kidding. All right, the Super Bowl is back in Glendale. The last time the Super Bowl was in the great state of Arizona. Patriots lost in that Super Bowl 42, 17-14 in what was that game? What happened in the whole, was it David Tyree? David Tyree with the helmet catch, his last NFL catch. How crazy is that?
That's pretty insane right there. That was his last catch ever. So I don't know. That was That was pretty cool, though, because the Patriots were all undefeated going in, and that was the one game that they lost that season. It happened to be the biggest game of the season, and yeah, it was big time. I remember that happening. It was pretty cool.
And not to go all conspiracy theory, but 2007, a record-setting offense with the Patriots that was 2 years removed after Brady and Peyton successfully labeled Get My Own Football. Although I'm pretty sure that Brady and Randy Moss in his prime could have been playing with the cinder block, and they still would have completely jacked fools.
They really would have playing with the cinder block. You cracked me up. Yeah, totally.
Patriots are 3-4 in the Super Bowl all time. Wait, is that right? All right, yeah. All right, so they lost twice to the Giants. They lost to the Packers in '96, and then they lost to the '85 Bears. Okay, those are the 4 losses. Oh, you got 4 Super Bowl losses. Oh, I'm so sorry
sad
for the Patriots. So you got the 3 wins. At least you aren't 0 for 4. Like, I don't know. Seahawks are 1-1. They lost that 2005 matchup with the Steelers and also the referees.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, they completely jacked the Broncos last year. Brady's 6th Super Bowl appearance, most of any quarterback of all time, can get his 4th ring, tying Bradshaw and Joe Montana. I said Joe Montana.
Oh, well, I don't think he was ever on the field, but that's okay.
System quarterback. Probably not. Bill Belichick's 6th Super Bowl appearance as well breaks his own record of 5 and can get his 4th ring, which would tie him all time with who, Claire?
You tell me.
Pittsburgh head coach Chuck Noll.
Chuck Noll, yes, right. Chuck Noll.
And then back to Russell Wilson before he hit the break. Can win a 2nd straight Super Bowl, 2nd in 3 years, and is in line this offseason to get paid.
Big money. I mean, there's so few quarterbacks and so many teams who need quarterbacks. So, yeah.
Well, do you think he's going to end up being the highest paid quarterback next season?
I don't know about the highest paid. I don't know if he can command Peyton Manning money, or whatever, but he'll do all right. He'll do pretty darn well. He'll probably be top 5th, top 10th.
It seems like every top 10 quarterback who's in line to get paid next leapfrogs everyone else, and to get to that $23-24 million a year area. It'll be interesting to see if he's the kind of guy who would take a little less to help the team, like Roethlisberger did with his last contract, and Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, or if he's going to completely Flacco and Breeze this whole thing. Because we talk about Breeze as being a good quarterback. He's getting up there in age, but his contract paired with Jimmy Graham's completely hamstrung the Saints, and they're going to be in cap hell next year.
Yeah, and I think I've been talking about this off and on with other people that, yeah, they've put together a really good team, but they're going to have to find a way to pay for them come next season. And it's getting closer, but at the same time, you look at Pete Carroll's record with the Seahawks at finding those under-the-radar players and making them superstars. And he's kind of done that. So I don't know how worried I am for them.
And then just going back to Russell Wilson, we've talked about off and on the shows that I don't know if Russell Wilson's the type of guy who could lead you back from 4 touchdowns down or win a shootout for you. But he did lead them back against Green Bay, mostly because Green Bay was only up 16 because Mike McCarthy's a big chicken, and that should have been at least, 24-0 at halftime. But he did come back throwing the 4 picks, even though the 4th pick they should have ran back. But that's here or there. And I don't know. Wilson does seem like a team player. Maybe he will take 16. I don't see him taking like a pay-as-you-go Kaepernick deal. Like, he deserves some guaranteed money, but I don't see him going all Flacco $120.6 million either.
I don't either. And I think that I feel like he seems like the type who knows where his bread is buttered, and that if he goes to another team, he may not be in a situation to succeed like he's been put into in Seattle. And I think that he recognizes that likely. He's not a stupid man by any means. So I think that he would do what it took to stay with Seattle.
Absolutely. Speaking of staying with Seattle, stay with us throughout the break. First break coming up, Claire-Vs-Carlson, BRB. Oh.
Hello?